Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Chronicles. I'm your host, Courtney Joyner of Brush Strokes Pottery, and this episode is truly special. I am deeply honored to have Samantha Jezek joining me today. Samantha is a modern artist who uses bold colors and striking faces in her artwork, all with the deeper intent to bond people together. Today, she is opening up and sharing her own story of battling addiction and how her recovery led her to create vibrant and meaningful art. Samantha's willingness to open up about her own experiences not only highlights the transformative power of creativity, but emphasizes the importance of community and the mutual support we can have for one another. Her story is an inspiration for anyone striving to overcome challenges and find their own healing path, whatever that may be. We also chat about how she has boldly expanded her artwork into other various products, such as unique trinket trays, coasters, apparel, and her plans to expand into textiles and home goods. All this while balancing motherhood with 3 little ones currently and another one on the way. She is truly superwoman, and I am so inspired by her. So without further ado, let's get started. Samantha, welcome. It is good
Hi.
to see you in person.
I know it's good to see you too.
Well, I am excited. I'm a new fan. I'm a fan of yours. I found you, I would say, in the last few months, and I think right off the bat just was so enthralled by your color and your bright, vibrant pieces. So I'm really excited to understand a little bit more about your process and learn a little bit more about you today.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, for those that don't know you,
hmm
tell us a little bit about your business and your background.
So I started painting in college, and I didn't have much experience underneath my belt before then. I was just a creative person, and I started taking some art classes just to kind of see where it took me, and I loved it. I just loved creating. I loved learning. I'm from a small town. So a lot of culture didn't really come from there, and I was sheltered in a lot of ways. So when I started taking those classes and started like I was a sponge. I was just like, give me more. I want more. And the teachers loved it. They loved having a student that wanted to learn. And that's when I just kind of knew in my heart that this was what I was supposed to do. And a little part of me was always just like, I don't know, is this a career? I don't know if this is something. But I just kept following that little feeling, and it just kept leading to one thing to the next. And now today, which is like, years later, I am a modern artist, and I explore figures, faces, and abstracts in bright, colorful hues.
Love that. So, did you study art? Did you switch your major to study art, or did you go in with a completely different major and take classes?
So I actually started in interior design. In my little town, a lot of people would consult with me. I was just a high school kid, but they would ask me what colors to paint their house or how should I arrange it. I was into that stuff since I was a little girl. I would flip through magazines and circle all my favorite bedding and all my favorite curtains, and it was kind of funny. I didn't even think of it until I was older like that. I was just like so into that design process. And so I went into college and decided I was going to do interior design, which had a lot of really good bases like art history, drawing one, drawing two, sculpture. And then I just
Wow.
really, I never knew, I just didn't have that confidence in me that I could actually do art, because that was just such a big thing. And I just kept doing it, and I just kept loving it. And then teachers would say, you're doing a really good job. And it was such a fun experience.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
so interesting that you say that. We have a lot of conversations here with other artists about the worthiness factor behind being in art, having
Yeah.
art as a career. And
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just, when my theory is like in grade school and everything like that, we are creative when we're younger. I think we're all innately creative. And then somehow it gets kind of taught out of us.
Yeah, it
And
does.
so that fear kind of stops us from thinking that that's something that could be a true career path. So I love
Definitely.
that you're a shining light that this is, no, you can do this.
You can. And it, when you think about it, it seems so far away. You're like, that is huge. That is so far away with anything, not even with art, just
Hmm.
any kind of goal that somebody has or wants, that just seems impossible. And I learned in myself that those little baby steps that you follow, and when you hear that voice that's like, no, that's too big, that's too scary, or
Hmm.
when you take those little steps, you don't have to take a huge step. I mean, well, those little baby steps count for something. And when you're going in that direction, it'll just kind of guide you along that path of
Hmm.
reaching the ultimate goal.
I love that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen to your intuition for sure. So
Yes.
you went to school, and I saw that we have maybe a shared love. You studied in Italy.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
Italy. Love.
Yes.
What talk about that experience and what inspired you while you were there?
Okay. So, again, from a small town, I've never been out of the US. And
What small
they,
town, can I ask?
it's Thomas, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And my family traveled, but it was usually like in the US and not like, and that's fine. Like it was just like smaller trips. And um, it was just intimidating to go somewhere so foreign. And my teachers were like, we have one spot left if anybody wants to go. And I was like, me, I would love to go. And I signed up and I spent my summer in Tuscany painting landscapes. It was gorgeous, eating all the good food. And
Yes.
we stayed in an 1100 century castle.
Wow.
Yes, it was a small group, probably 15 of us. And during the day we'd wake up, and eat a meal together. It was always eating a meal. It was just so beautiful. How you just sat down every day and ate a meal together. And then you'd go out and paint and set your easel up in front of all the Tuscan hills. And we were up on a hill, and it was just, the rolling, beautiful landscapes we got to paint. And then on the weekends, we could just go wherever we wanted. And for me, that was just like, it opened my eyes to the
Hmm.
richness and culture that art had.
Hmm.
And it was just so inspiring to see what the greats had done in their journey. And I mean, it was just breathtaking. Everywhere you went, it just took your breath away. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
I feel the same way. There's just
Yes.
so much that you can gain from the nature. Just and
Yes.
this, I wouldn't even say there's some, depending on where you go, just the simplicity, like just
Yeah.
yeah, the rolling hills or
Yeah. The
just
flowers. Like,
yes.
yes. Yeah.
Gosh, and
Yeah.
then the food. I mean, the food, yes, but well, I'm
The
jealous.
food. Yeah.
I am I love castles. Like that is, I just, when we go to Europe, and we went to Ireland last year, and I was like, I need to go to all of the castles. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
Why not? Yes.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Well, you came back then, so you studied, and then did you go immediately into art, or how did your journey into art look after school?
So I actually started touring with bands and live painting, which was a little wild, but I was like, I'm young, I'm in my 20s, like this is fun. I love music. That's a huge thing in my creating today is just what playlist I have on, and it plays a huge role in that. So I did that for a couple of years, and that was really fun. It was just, I was a free spirit. I was in my 20s. So I did continue in the art world. It just wasn't like a studio based setting.
Describe what live painting is for those that don't know.
So for me in the world I was in the live painting era, it was setting up with the band. You're a part of the experience. You're a part of, hearing and then seeing what the representation is of that event or that music. So I really tried to hone in on like the music and what it made me feel, and then put it on canvas through color. Then I did oil painting, which was
Ah.
not what you usually would see as a live painter because it doesn't dry very fast, but it was just so much vibrancy and richness and texture. That's what I did.
Wow. Have you always been drawn to bright colors?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So is your home, I would imagine, just bright and airy and light?
It's it's so funny cuz like I really like dark colors too, but I like to put it on top of bright colors. So my living
Okay.
room is all black.
What?
And yeah. And I have bright chartreuse pillows on that, and then a
Okay.
beautiful like lavender. It's more of like a muted black. So so then I just have like a purple. My friend that is an amazing artist, we traded art, and she did like a purple lavender piece that's center point with some gold fixtures and then some books, and we really like that. But everything else is pretty light and airy. But that one room I had to go dramatic because it's like the focal point.
Yes, I might need you to send me a picture of that because I
Yeah.
just I'm like, when you get that vision in your head and I'm like, I need to see, is it actually
Yay.
like that? I bet that's absolutely amazing. After you went into live painting, you created a series called Not Alone, which
Yeah.
is very meaningful and special, and
Mhm.
I and to your career as it is now, would you say?
It was a turning point for sure.
Can you share? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Definitely. So, as I was live painting, I started getting into the crowd that had the after parties and meeting the bands, and I started experimenting with drugs and alcohol. And as I did that, I kind of just threw myself off the deep end, and
Mm.
I didn't even realize that. I always had been that light, the just come in and just be really happy and lift everybody up. And I could feel a change in me, and I didn't even know it was happening. But I just, I lost who I was.
Mm.
And that's what drugs will do to you, not even realizing it. And that was what I was there for in the end. It totally switched. Instead of being there for the music and the people and showing them the experience on canvas, it was, where can I get high? Which is really sad to say.
Yeah.
But that's where I was. And I ended up getting treatment because I had so many friends and family that I had lost. And I had a moment where I just was like, this is who I am. This is who I am now. And it was like a realization where I saw myself for who I really was an addict. And it broke me, which I feel like everybody needs that to turn and change.
Yeah.
So I went to treatment for 16 months. It was a discipleship program, fully God based. Everything I just left behind completely. And I focused on me for that 16 months. I didn't have contact with very many people because I would really needed to focus on myself and change for the better. And after I came out of that, I was healed and changed. And I didn't throw myself back into art just yet because I had gotten my mess with art. It was painful. So it was like a year after I was walking out my recovery, which was also really hard. So, and that was my I was more focused on like walking straight and, being right. So after I started painting and experimenting and like getting back into it, my husband now, who I had met in college, we reconnected, said he was so proud of me. He was like, I knew you were kind of going off the deep end, and I'm just so glad you're okay.
Oh.
And now we're married, have 3 kids, one on the way. He encouraged me after we got married. It was like my first birthday after we got married. He's like, got me all these art supplies. He was like, you need to start painting again. And he had his mom make a big bouquet. There was paintbrushes, paint, all of it.
I
And
have tears.
I know. He encouraged me. He's like, this is what you need to do. And his dad encouraged me. And I was like, okay. So every day, I just kind of stepped in my little corner and started painting again. It was in our dining room then. And I started just exploring all types of things. I loved color. I loved abstracts. I loved the modern look. And then I started doing modern faces. And then and they just made me feel like with the faces, I could feel the boldness and just sometimes a little bit of attitude. And it was it was giving me something inside, like just some
Mm.
confidence I needed in
Mm.
that moment in recovery. You kind of rebuild yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just like having so much fun with those girls. They were like my buds in my studio. I was like just painting them colorful. Sometimes I give one more attitude, sometimes they wouldn't, and it was just so fun. I just wanted to start sharing my journey a little bit. And I did figures that were alone. They were single figures, and together they made a full collection. And I wanted to have that collection represent trials, tribulation, sorrow, grief, and addiction, anything that you just feel alone in.
Mm-hmm.
You do, especially in my recovery. You come out into the world, you're like, I have nothing anymore. Like, I destroyed everything, and everything that I did have, I let go of to start anew. So that collection really did something in me, and it did, and I was hoping it would reach other people in the same scenario that they felt alone in, and that they knew they are not alone. And so I titled it Not Alone, with single figures representing one single person, and the colors were, they're like all different, and they all looked different because they were going through their own journey, but then together they were united and not alone. So leaning on each other, united in struggles and adversity.
Wow. Wow. What
long,
a
long story short.
No, but what a beautiful story and a beautiful journey that you were on. And I'm thankful that you're with us today, and that you have come so far, and that you're sharing that with people, that you're sharing that, because I think we can see people for what they are now, and make assumptions, and make, judgment. And there's real stories behind all of us. And you've gone through something that there might be other people that are going through. So I think it's so beautiful that you're connecting through art, hopefully to other people that may never paint in their life, but see one of your pieces and feel that connection and feel not alone. So I think that's so beautiful.
Yes, thank you. I hope so. That's what I wanted to do in the beginning.
And you probably had no idea that that's the healing journey that you were on when you first came back and started to pick up a paintbrush. You were just kind of baby deer, like
Yes.
probably trying to figure out, like, can I do this?
Yes.
And
Yes.
now it's become a bigger purpose.
Yes, totally. For sure.
Wow. So you've stayed with the figures and the faces. That has now carried, and you'll do together. There'll be standalone pieces. That'll be single frames. I love your choice just in your frames. The little styling tips that you do. How is that something that's just innately in you? Or have you kind of honed and learned from others along the way?
I feel like it's both. Like I said, from a little girl, I loved those little details, like arranging things, paint color, and stuff like that. So seeing a painting not finished as its own, and then adding all those layers to it's fun to me. I like to see it come together with the right frame, because I'll sit there and grab 50 frames off the wall, and just hold them up and see what looks good. But also, like, having the art community that I have, I'm very fortunate that some of us girls kind of come together, and we can bat like ideas off each other's heads and stuff. That's been really good to have as well. Yeah.
Is that community then local? Like, or do you have people that are outside and you kind of like virtually get together?
So we it's all outside. We've met through Instagram. We start meeting each other. We support each other. We've kind of come together. And we also are in some of the same galleries, and that happened after. So we kind of just came together on Instagram, and then we all got signed with different galleries, ended up being together there, and it just bonded us more together. So yeah, we'll just call each other up. We've exchanged numbers or text, or, give a little encouragement here and there.
I love that. I think that's the beauty and the good that still exists with social media, that we can be so easily connected. I mean, that's how I found you, and that's how artists can still remember that it's a great platform to be seen and to have their art to be out there that didn't exist, 10, 20 years ago. I mean, my mom, I don't know if you know much about my story. My mom was a wonderful artist and did oils and watercolors and everything. But I remember now, thinking back to childhood, watching her journey and just the different hustle that she had to always just be out at art shows. And it was just a different whole set than what we can do now and to be seen online.
Oh, I'm sure that's where I started was Instagram. But in college, we didn't really have that. So it was like art fairs, art galleries,
Hmm.
submissions, which I still do that now, but it's like it's nice to have these platforms as well to reach a bigger audience.
Absolutely. Looking for that perfect gift, that plant lover in your life? Introducing ceramic cactus trees from Brush Strokes Pottery. Handcrafted with care, these timeless pieces bring a touch of nature indoors. What sets them apart? You can change out the lights for every season, making it a year-round lighted keepsake. Add some greenery and warmth to any space with these unique creations in over 30 different colors and styles. Visit our website, brushstrokespottery.com, to find the perfect one for you. And be sure to use code PODCAST for 10% off your first order. Brush Strokes Pottery, handcrafted ceramics, bringing happiness home. So you have done something I think that is so smart and so creative, taking your art and your designs away from just the paper and the canvas. So
Mm-hmm.
you on coolers, on I think I saw trinket trays, coasters, what
Mm-hmm.
else? Apparel. How
Mm-hmm.
did that kind of happen? Did you know you always wanted to go there, or has it just been kind of an evolution?
It's been an evolution. I've had a vision with my art, and I've always wanted to kind of go there, and I still want to go more in depth with that. But it's nice because like there's companies out there that already do it, and they reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you like to do a collab?"
Wow.
And I love that because it kind of lets me dip my toes into it and let me see. It allows me to see what it would actually look like, and that's kind of where I started was just with like companies who were already in it, who already knew, I didn't have to like figure things out as much, but they already knew how to do it. So it was nice I could just jump in on that.
That's awesome. So they approached you
Mhm.
for doing this. How do you think that that came about? Because you had been just making your voice known online.
Yeah, I think so. I think through social media. Mhm.
So that's been something you've always been heavily involved in as far as your career.
Yes.
I enjoy it. Do you enjoy it?
I do. I think a balance is
Yes.
great for sure. I do enjoy it whenever I'm in my rhythm and like get inspired, and I love it. I definitely allow myself to have those breaks because it can get a little draining
Yes.
because it's like always there, and it feels like a job at some point. But when you start having fun with it and finding your groove, it's really nice for sure.
I find we were talking about overthinking offline before, and when I
Yes.
overthink it, I don't get the response that I was hoping for. But when
Yeah.
I underthink it, that's not even a word, but when I don't
It's a
think
word
about
to us.
it, it's a word. It's a word in the artist
It is.
brain.
It is for sure.
But when I don't think about it as much, then something will just hit. And I think that I find that is the case for a lot of people. It's just don't get in our own heads. Like let's just put something out there and people can feel
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
true emotion behind it. Probably similar to like your
Yeah.
paintings and your art. You can really feel that even through a screen. It translates. So that's a lot of fun.
That's amazing. Yes.
Do you ever we've talked a lot about kind of honing in and finding your niche. You have found your niche with the bright colors and the bold faces. Do you ever feel kind of boxed in by that? Or do you like it and you're like, no, I'm going for it and there's still more that I can do with this?
Totally. And I think that's where I'm at. I love it, and I feel like I can go more with that with just more detail or adding in like a bold earring
Mm.
or just like, you can go with all out on the hair or you can just keep it simple. And I like doing that. I've never felt boxed in because I feel like my creativity can go further within those.
Hmm.
Um and like with the figures and the colors and what they represent, I can, I get inspired with different series all the time. I have to jot it down and hopefully I get to it. So yeah, I haven't felt that, but I do know some artists that have, and they're exploring different things, and I totally respect that, and I love watching them grow in a different way.
Yeah, I think it's fun to try that, but I do think that I find that people who truly find their niche and run with it
Mm-hmm.
have great success in
Mm-hmm.
in the art world. I think you're
Yeah.
known for something and you can
Mm-hmm.
still try other things, but you start with that one main piece that's really
Yes.
drawing people in. And maybe
Yeah.
you have some other side projects, but that's the draw.
Yeah, and it evolves on its own. Honestly, I look back at my portraits 2 to 3 years ago, and they're so different.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're just. I mean, to me, they are. I'm sure. I mean, they still have the same look, but just the different strokes and experience that I have. It just looks different, and the colors are different. They're more soft, more bold, but
Hmm.
like the colors that I have done the last year, I feel like are completely different than the last couple of years. So it's interesting to go back and look.
It's fun too, and to see how you've evolved as an artist and as a
Yeah,
person. I would say
definitely.
the same thing. What I'm doing now is very different from where I was when I first started my pottery business, and it's been really cool to see that evolution and really kind of just
Yeah.
each day come up with a new color or just
Yes.
a new way of putting that texture on. People will say all the time, well, what are you going to do when people don't want cactus anymore or you're tired of cactus? I'm like, there's always a new color, there's always a
Yeah,
new, I mean,
that's
I
right.
don't think of it as being over anytime soon, because I think there's so
Hmm.
much we still see in artist's brain, um,
Definitely, for
that has
sure.
not even been tapped into. Do you
Yes.
have a favorite creation that you've done?
I have a lot of favorites. It's kind of funny. I'll go back on my Instagram and flip through and look, and there is ones I'm like, oh, I remember that one. That one was really fun to create. I think there's just like points
Mhm.
in my past where I'm like, oh, that was a fun one, or I really liked this one piece that went to the Dallas Collective. It's a gallery in Dallas, and it was really bright and fun. I did a photo shoot by the pool with it, so that made it really fun too. But it was just these girls standing tall with big hair and kind of with their hip out, and It was like, let's see, like yellows, oranges, just really bright, warm, summery colors. That one was probably my favorite to date.
How do you stay current with trends and ideas? What inspires you?
So what inspires me is I look at a lot of magazines. I like to pick them up. I like to see what's happening, what colors are in, what colors are not in, and so I'm kind of old school in that way. So I'll pick up a ton of magazines and flip through them, and that's how I've always been. So anything like that. Social media is great too, but there's just a lot out there.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll go look at my favorite design groups and I'll look and see what they're doing and kind of move in that way at some point, and so that's usually what I do.
Yeah. Are you a do you read, or do you like books?
Yes, I do love books.
Are you
Yes,
an audible, or are you a like to turn the paper?
I love turning the paper, but in my season of life right now, it has
Yeah.
to be Audible because I don't get to just sit and read. So I just kind of plug it in and listen whenever I can, and that's usually been great for me.
Same, same kind of similar thing, but there is something about that tactile. Like, I
Yeah,
like to turn the page, so I get that with
yeah,
the magazines. That's a lot
yes,
of fun. A lot of fun.
definitely.
Looking back now on where you are today versus where you were, what if you could go back and tell your younger self any advice? And
Man,
this might be a whole this might be a bigger thing, but if you
yeah.
could go back, let's just say that 19-year-old version of yourself, what would you say to her?
I think at 19, I was just so hungry for something, and I would just give myself a hug and say, I wasn't worried. I was just like excited,
Yeah.
ready for something. And I just give myself a hug and just say it's going to happen, and just keep your head up, and, just give
Yeah.
myself a hug and say, keep your head up. And probably that's a hard question. It's just
Yeah.
so, because then I just was so, I mean, it was just a different thought process. I don't know.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think that, like, that I get the sense that that's your mom, you said, of three, soon to be four, but that's like your motherly instinct, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
you want to go back and maybe protect her and
Yeah.
let
I
her
would
know that it's
love,
okay.
yeah, it's okay. Because I mean, I love and appreciate what happened to me, the good and the bad. I wish I could go back and just say, stay away from this
Yeah.
this area, but I don't.
Yeah.
because it made me who I was. So I would just give myself a hug and say it's going to happen. It's going to be okay. Keep your head up even whenever it's hard.
Yeah.
That is, and just going to be all right, and know who you are.
I just want to reach out and give you a hug right now. Like that just, yeah, we just don't know. And I think it's such a strong message of faith and just sticking to it.
Yeah.
Art
Yeah.
is a long game. And
Yeah.
I think, not giving up on yourself and not giving up
Yeah.
on the
Yes.
fact that you might have something that's very special. So keep at it, because
Yeah.
when it hits, it can really hit, but it may take you through some journeys, and you may have to go through those journeys to really find what it is that you're supposed to create.
That's right. That's right. Definitely.
So you are a mom, as we mentioned. How do you I don't have children. I have just dogs, and like trying to
Yeah.
keep up is a lot. How do you stay
Hmm.
on task and organized?
It's hard. um,
The short
it's
answer is
it's
hard.
hard. It's hard. And it is. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done was following my dreams while having kids. And it's small kids. Like I started my business whenever I had my baby, like my first kid. And I was just like, I would go into the studio and stand there and just like, what am I doing? I should be sleeping. Like, I should be resting right now, but I'm in my studio painting a painting. Like, what am I doing? And I just kept showing up.
Yeah.
So I think that's the simplest thing I could say. Just show up for yourself, because when you keep doing that, you'll start to see something change and start to see something happening. And it's hard. I remember just like running to the studio as soon as I knew they were asleep. And I would just
Wow.
like sprint, like, okay, I got this much time. I'm going to do this thing right here. And I would do that. And then after I started doing that for a while, then I had like more time later. Okay, in the evenings, I'm going to start doing this now, or I'll give myself 2 hours. But then I would completely lose myself in my art and it'd be like 4 hours. Like, oh, okay. Guess I'm going to be getting up early with the baby, a little tired. But in the end, it turned into such a beautiful story and just a beautiful time with my children being in the studio with me at my feet, literally at my feet while I was painting. They would be sitting there playing or getting up. Mama, oh, that's orange. Oh, that's pink.
Oh.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm like tearing up thinking about it. But it's just like, it was something that I didn't know I was giving them and myself. And it was very hard, but like being a parent's hard. So like, I guess just do it all at once.
Do it all at once.
Yeah.
Tired, all the
Yeah.
things, just
Yeah.
go for it. I
Yeah.
love that. And
Yes.
how fun. We were talking about that they have not fear when it comes, they enjoy mess. And
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Yes. They enjoy it. It's like, and that might be a huge point why my kids are super messy, because they've seen me in paint my whole life. And now people are like, wow, your kids really like to make a mess. I'm like, yes, they do. But they're great, 3 boys and then one on the way. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's fun.
It'll be fun to watch their journey, being allowed to be messy and in that
Yeah.
just kind of creative sense, like how
Yeah.
that kind of lends to their
Yeah.
personalities and everything as they.
Oh yeah. I have my oldest. He loves art. I've got him a little studio off of my studio. It's in our dining room, but he wanted to create so much. So I would be painting in my studio and he would be in his. Just we would just both be creating heads down at the same time. And I go over there and his hands are covered in marker, in whatever, and I'm just like, he's like a little artist. I love watching him
Yes.
grow and do that. It's funny.
That's
It's really
That's
neat.
beautiful. I
Yeah.
grew up in a similar, mom always encouraged art. So in any form, we were always
That's
allowed to be
awesome.
creative. And I
Yeah.
think that for both my sister and I has been very influential on our lives. Just whatever that is, if that's,
Yeah.
she's a hairstylist and that's an art
Mhm.
form in itself.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be direct painting. It's just having that creative freedom to think outside the box.
Yeah. And explore it and be okay with doing that for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
What would you say to aspiring artists who are creative that want to get started, but
Yeah.
feel like it's saturated in the market
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
don't feel like that they can do it?
You know, if I were starting out right now, I would seriously just put my head down and not focus on all that noise
Mm.
and just create and do what makes you happy and focus and try everything.
Yeah.
Don't be intimidated by, oh, this person's doing this. This person's doing that already. Just do whatever. If you like flowers, paint a flower. Keep painting it. Keep painting it. And then if you loved it, paint another one, you know? It's just like you can find your style and your niche by doing what you love and just not listening to all that other stuff, because people are going to talk, people are going to say things, and you're going to find people that will love your stuff, and you need to listen to all those positive things and tune everything out and do what makes you happy and listen to your heart as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Great advice for sure. Harder than
Also, find a community. Art community is
ah,
huge, and that's what really changed me. Was
really?
whenever, yeah, I mean, I would do it and I would paint and I would, and then when I started like actually connecting with people, other artists out there, it was so encouraging to hear other things they were going through or just talking about it. Like when I first started shipping a lot of stuff, that was huge. I was like, what am I doing? Like, how
Yeah.
do I wrap up this painting? And they were like, well, this is what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. And then I would come up with some, like, it's just so nice to like have that to help through so many things. So that's like another huge thing as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It can be lonely
Yes.
as an
Yeah.
artist because
Mm-hmm.
you are putting your head down and that's wonderful, but then you pick your head up and you're like, oh, who am I going to brainstorm with, or who am I going to spitball? And
Yeah.
spouses or partners are wonderful, but they may only
Yeah.
want to listen to art talk
Yeah.
for so long and
Yeah.
don't understand all the parts that you said, like
Yeah.
shipping. So I think that's
Yeah. They
a
don't
great,
get it. And
yeah,
that's the thing. They just don't get it. And once I started talking with several different artists that do get it, it was so nice. It was like, oh, you get it. Praise the
yeah.
Lord. Like I can talk to you about what's actually going on, you know?
You're not going to roll your eyes at me. You're going to be like, yep,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Did this,
Yeah.
and here's how you fix it.
Exactly. For
Love
sure.
that. Well,
Yes.
you have a program that you launched this year or last year?
It was last year. Around
Last
this
year.
exact. Yeah. It was
At the
around this time.
designer trade program. Is that
Hmm.
still in place? And
It is. Yes.
okay.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about that and what.
I've always helped designers out if they ever reached out and wanted something that was curated to their space, but I felt like it was just kind of like there. Nothing, I wasn't promoting it, I wasn't saying it. And when I saw other bigger companies that would do like home decor or they had a designer program, and I was like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not showing that I can provide this? I sign up for stuff all the time for that with frames or anything that I use a lot for my business. So I wanted to let designers know that I have that for them and that they can sign up and we can get to know each other, and you don't have to get anything today or tomorrow, whenever we or ever. We can just start a relationship and know where we're at with both of our needs. And I just wanted to make more of a partnership and just know that my art is out there for them to use if they would like it, and also it could help them in a way and help me as well.
Yeah, what a fun, just different way to be able to bring your art to the world. Do you have a lot where you're styled like in homes or interior design and
Yes, a lot of my clients will say, "Hold on, let me ask my designer." I'm like, "Well, just send them to me, and we'll figure it out." And then they usually do. I'll start talking to the designer what colors they want, because they have a vision, and I want
yeah,
it to come together for them. They work hard. They pick out so many things, and for them to see it come to life, and then with the art, I think that's perfect.
that's awesome.
Hmm.
What's next for you? Like what's exciting that's on the horizon?
Well, other than having another baby.
I was about to say, I was like,
Oh. No, so I really want to start exploring textiles, wallpaper, more home goods
wow,
like candles. I've started going through the process of creating a scent and then putting my artwork on the candle as
wow.
well. So that's right now. I'm designing some wallpaper with another company that does all that. So we're going to be working back and forth trying to get that all the details perfect. So
Yeah, that's
that's
exciting.
that's what's happening. Yeah.
That's your interior design background coming back into
Yes,
play. That's
it
fun.
is.
It's
Yeah.
so fun to see. I think if you're open to what past creative natures you've had. So fun fact, I went to school for broadcasting and never did anything with it. I decided just before senior year that wasn't going to be my niche. And so kind of picking it
Okay.
back up and doing this like to come back,
Yeah.
it's been fun to say, "Oh, that's still a part of me. That's still that creative." So I think that's
Yeah.
for you as well. Like don't discount past creativity that was inside of you.
That's right. Totally.
You
Kind of
never
comes back around in full circle sometimes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so fun. That's so
Hmm.
fun. Well, this has been so fun to learn a little bit more about you and your design process, and I'm excited for other people to find you. How can people find you, learn more about your art, follow you, all the things?
Sure. So my main presence is on social media platforms. So if you go to Instagram, I'm at Samantha Jezek Art, and you can find me there. Sign up for my newsletter on my website would be great. I have a lot of stuff that goes out through there. That's more of stays up to date on my releases and what's coming up, or sneak peeks if you want to see what I'm about to release.
Yes.
And that's www.samanthajezekart.com. So, and then I also have a contact page on that website where you can email me if you need, and if somebody needs anything, if you're looking for a specific piece. I might have one already in the works, or I could get a commission going out.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And I'll link everything in the show notes so it'll be easy for people to get to you directly. And as I was saying, your bright, shiny nature, go follow her because you will be happy every single time you pop up in my feed. It just makes me happy and smile. And I think that's your whole vision behind it. So definitely go give her a follow, and I think you will be inspired for sure. I'm always inspired by your bright colors for sure.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything that you have coming up. I can't wait to continue to follow along on your journey.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on here. It was really fun getting to talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the show this week. Please make sure to click the follow button on your podcast app so you never miss a new episode of the show. And remember, if you want to nominate a small business artist for an upcoming episode, send an email to the address listed in show notes and let me know all about them. Until next time, stay creative.